Hello, my name is Daniel Werner, and my speech today will be on why animal testing should not be allowed. No one wants to think of their animals in cages being used for scientific experiments. This is happening all over the country by the millions. This injustice that remains prevalent but ignored is the modern day use of testing animals for science and lack of enforcement for animal rights. Animal testing is cruel and inhumane due to the regulations that government agencies put on animal testing. Tests that work on animals usually do not work on humans, and there are better alternatives to testing animals. Fighting against animal testing needs to be spoken about in order for there to be change and justice for those who suffer in silence. Research labs and scientists use animals for experiments because of regulations that are set forth for new products or medicines meant for human use or consumption. They set these regulations without considering the harm that is going to be inflicted on animals, which is cruel and unjust. Some of the government agencies that are responsible for putting animals through the cruel test are the Environmental Protection Agency, the Food and Drug Administration, the National Toxicology Program, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The government are pulling the strings on these inhumane acts that are being carried out inside of these research laboratories, which makes the government responsible for the hundreds of millions of animals that suffer and die in the United States every year due to being subjects of these tests. If the tests work on animals, it does not mean they will work on humans. The genetics between animals and humans are similar, but they are not the same. Animals also do not get a lot of diseases that humans do get, since there are genetics, mental issues, or socioeconomic factors that come into play when it comes to human disease. Dr. Richard Klausner, former director of the U.S. National Cancer Institute, stated, "The history of cancer research has been the history of curing cancer in the mouse. We've cured mice of cancer for decades, and it simply does not work in human beings. Since animals do not get these diseases, they are artificially developed and introduced into the animals in these research laboratories. Treatments that work on animals rarely work on humans due to lack of similarities between animals and humans and how they develop certain diseases. Now, there are better alternatives to using animals in research labs. The taxpayers and the government waste millions of dollars funding animal experimentation at research labs and universities across the world. Instead, this money could go into supporting promising research that doesn't involve animals being harmed, such as Harvard Weiss's Institute, which has created organ-on-chips, which contain human cells that mimic the structure and function of human organs and organ systems. These chips replicate human physiology, diseases, and drug responses. There are also devices made by Cells that expose human lung cells to chemicals in order to test the health effects of inhaled substances. Researchers at the European Union Reference Laboratory for Alternatives to Animal Testing developed 5 different tests that use human blood cells to detect contamination in drugs that cause a potentially dangerous fever response when they enter the body. These methods have been proven to benefit humans more effectively than testing on animals. So animals should not be tested on in laboratories when there are more effective alternatives available. In conclusion, animal testing is an injustice that continues to happen on a daily basis. Animals are treated cruelly and are killed inside of these research labs, even when there are alternatives to using animals for testing that will work better. It is our time to take action and stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. I'd like to thank you all for listening and have a good day.